Cam got hit.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is CJ here. Back with you with another movie review. This time we are talking about Incredibles 2, highly anticipated movie since its announcement last year. And I don't know, it's one of those movies that a lot of folks have been kind of itching to want to see a sequel for since the first movie came out years ago. I think it was back in 2005, 2006. Might have been a little earlier than that. The gang's back together again. Bob, Helen, Dash, Violet, and Jack in Frozone. And they're in a different world now. Well, not different world. Let's just say we're back in the same world as though nothing has changed. And I think that's actually a great thing. So the basic crux of Incredibles 2 is essentially when we last left the family, they had saved the day and the Underminer had popped up at the end of the movie. The family basically kind of getting themselves together to fight the Underminer, and that was the end of the movie. So this new movie picks up basically immediately after that, where we see the family fighting the Underminer and stuff, and kind of the effects of it and such. And it's still the same environment where heroes are still outlawed and stuff, and folks are still feeling some sort of way, particularly the government, when it comes to heroes intervening and stuff. The fight with the Underminer is interesting and it's actually pretty fun to watch and such. But like I said, they don't take down the Underminer like they want to, and then there's shit that's happening and stuff. And ultimately, in the aftermath of it, they got to go back into hiding again, particularly with the family and stuff. Frozone is fine. What ends up happening is we are introduced to two characters, Winston Dever and Evelyn Dever. And Winston is voiced by Bob Odenkirk, who you know from Better Call Saul. And Evelyn Dever is played by Catherine Keener and stuff. You probably memorize her too. And they're a brother and sister who, particularly with Winston, he wants to kind of bring superheroes back to the forefront. And they're actually legal because he grew up, like a lot of most people, where they idolize heroes and such. And they just, his dad loved heroes and stuff like that. He was one of those kind of philanthropists, word that correctly, for heroes and stuff, donated money and all that stuff. And when the superhero banning thing happened, his dad met with the untimely demise by some crooks because he went to call heroes, and since the heroes are banned, they didn't come. And his sister is feeling some sort of way, but she's going along with Winston's endeavor and trying to get heroes back to the forefront and stuff. And the basic crux is them trying to do good PR to kind of get heroes back to the forefront. And in them doing that, they need to get a hero on the forefront. And what you end up getting is an interesting story that we've seen in varying degrees, where Helen is pushed to the forefront by Winston to be kind of like the face of superheroes being back in the good graces of the general public and stuff. And what ends up happening is you have a bit of a role reversal where Bob has to be the basically the, I guess you could say, the caretaker, the homemaker for the family now, and he has to kind of take care of the family and stuff and all their issues and stuff. And one of the biggest crux of it is Bob basically trying to come to terms with the fact that he's no longer the person that's getting the attention. And I think that was interesting because even though we've seen that before in other movies and stuff, animated or live action, we see the comedy of it, but we also see the sadness of it a little bit, because here's a guy who, if you remember from the first movie, he was the face. He was Mr. Incredible. Everybody knew Mr. Incredible and stuff. And while the public knew about Elastigirl, she never hit those levels of popularity as Mr. Incredible. So what was interesting about it was the fact that, she's pushed to the forefront and stuff, and it's mainly on a little of a side joke that him being superhero heroic has caused a lot more damage than actual like doing the job and stuff, and she's caused less damage, so that's the reason why they're using her too as well. But like you can see the disdain on his face of, okay, I don't want to be chauvinistic, but I'm gonna be chauvinistic, and why her? She's a woman, blah blah blah. But you don't. But he doesn't outright say it, And just over the course of the movie, you see the different degrees of him trying to come to terms of it and stuff. And a lot of it has to do with just realizing the fact that he wants to sit there and be the person to fix everything, to do everything, and he's always been that person. So now that the roles are kind of reversed now, it's like he's doing things but just in a different way. And the thing about it is that ultimately with Bob and Helen, they want to do this so that their kids ultimately have a choice in whether they want to be heroes or not. Because the thing of it is, with Dash and Violet, I think Dash in particular, he wants to be a hero. He's embraced his powers, and we've known that since the first movie. He wants to be a superhero. With Violet, we see this kind of dichotomy where she doesn't mind being a hero, but we see how it's affected her social life, particularly with a boy. Now, if you remember from the last movie, there's a boy that she was talking to, got her number and stuff, and that kind of plays a part into her kind of figuring out does she want to be a hero or not. And it's actually pretty good. And like I said, with Bob and Helen, ultimately, they basically have to like figure out, can we give our kids a choice on doing this superhero thing? And I thought that was actually pretty interesting dichotomy and stuff. Now the thing about it is too, when you have a sequel like Pixar, when it comes to sequels to movies and stuff, I think outside of the Cars sequels and stuff, and maybe Monsters and stuff, even though that was a prequel, like I said, Toy Story has probably been their big like sequel thing and stuff. I mean, Monsters University, I didn't love, but I thought it was all right. Cars 2, I wasn't a big fan of, in particular, just because I felt it, even though it focused a lot up on, what was it, Larry the Cable Guy's character, Tater, or whatever the hell his name is and stuff, and less on Lightning McQueen, it turned into a very silly movie. But I know kids love that movie and stuff, mainly on the toys, so it's whatever. But what I enjoy about Incredibles 2 in particular is that they resisted the urge to do the whole 10 years later thing and stuff with this film. I like that it takes place immediately after the end of the first movie. Most movies in this kind of category tend to do the whole years later thing, and we see the people growing up and we don't really get the pieces of how did it get to this point. So I like that this movie takes place immediately after that. We see the aftermath of what happened and such, and ultimately I think the movie is really better for it because we get to see the characters' progression from the last film. Because like I said before, the family, they're heroes, but with Bob and Helen, they're kind of like, hey, I know we did our superhero thing, but we want to make sure that you guys have a choice in this, and it's not just something that you're doing for the sake of doing stuff. And like I said, we know Dash wants to be a superhero, and Violet is really the only one that's just kind of like, hey, I have this boy that I like, but do I want to really see it be a superhero? And just again, that effects and stuff. Now the big thing is with Bob in particular, since he's a homemaker now, we see him basically getting to know his kids more and stuff, getting involved with Dash's homework and seeing the stuff that Helen has to deal with as a homemaker and stuff. I thought it was interesting, particularly with him trying to understand Violet and her issues and things like that, being a dad, and I thought that was actually pretty cool. In particular, him and Jack's revelation, because Jack, we find out, has multiple power sets. And just seeing the whole power sets with Jack is actually interesting, and just there's a little bit of an interaction later on in terms of Bob going to Etna, who you remember from the last movie makes all the costumes and stuff, and her interaction with Jack, and just everything that comes with that is actually really good. Again, everything with this movie is firing on all cylinders of what we know and love. And what I also love is the addition of more superheroes, because with Winston, he's really this guy that wants to, like I said earlier, bring back heroes to the forefront, and that includes around the world. So since you have Elastigirl being at the forefront of this initiative, you see heroes from different, all over the world and stuff. Some from the United States and also some from all over the world. And seeing all those power sets and all that stuff is actually fun to watch. Seeing the interactions with all these new heroes that we were seeing for the first time interact with Elastigirl, and them just basically kind of geeking out like, oh my God, it's Elastigirl, you know. It's fun. It's actually really good. There's a bad guy in this movie called the Screenslaver, who, for all intents and purposes, when you watch this movie, you'll initially pick up on it being on who it could possibly be, but I'll let you guys kind of just watch it and figure it out and stuff. So I won't say it's obvious, because to me personally it wasn't obvious, but it is kind of like, oh, that's an interesting twist. Okay, cool, dope, you know. So it exists and stuff. The action in this movie is actually standard Incredibles action. It's very superheroic in nature. I mean, we're in a day and age where we're getting a lot of superheroes in movies and stuff. So I thought that the movie nailed the aspects of superheroics and just what that means in that climate of that world, you know. So, like I said, I think Brad Bird came in and did the damn thing and did a phenomenal job in doing the continuation of it and stuff. And I'm actually happy that this movie, like, I didn't have much of an issue with this movie and stuff, you know. So I'm glad that they were able to craft a movie that still kept the essence of what made the original Incredibles movie so great and so good, and they continue that. I mean, hell, I know I didn't talk much about Frozone, but Frozone, we see a little bit more of his interaction with the family and stuff. We see like how his relationship with them are and stuff, and I thought that was actually pretty cool. And like I said, Sam Jackson, he does the damn thing, and Frozone was awesome in this movie. So, I mean, like I said, just overall, this movie was phenomenal. I think you guys will definitely enjoy it. You'll definitely love it. I don't think I really missed out on anything and such. So, like I said, more than anything, I give this a 9 out of 10. Great movie. Definitely go watch it. And yeah, that's it. Peace out. And I guess I'll catch you later.